what's going on? Chris here, and I want to walk you through your dates in this video, okay? So you've probably been in situations where you met a girl and it couldn't work out initially. Let's say you couldn't bring her home or something, and you wanted to set up a date. This is why we're here, is to continue interactions as long as we can and start a relationship, whatever kind you're looking for, okay? So I want to teach you how to set dates. Now, what's very important to realize is, especially the first time you meet her, it's very important to set the date in person, if at all possible, okay? Sometimes you can't do it because she's in a rush and whatever, and you're like, all right, I'll text you, we'll set up a plan for this week, all right? I'll see you later. But if you have the opportunity, just set the date in person. If you do that, it's going to be there's going to be a significantly higher chance that she's going to come out and see you again, okay? And it's because of a lot of different reasons. For one, it's going to make it really real in her mind that you're actually trying to see her again, which is going to force her mind to decide, okay, do I want to see this guy again? And if the answer is yeah, like she does want to see you again, it's starting to become a real thing. Like, okay, I'm actually going to have to clear schedule time, and she's going to start actually coming up with it, okay? Now, also, it's just going to make it so much easier to figure out the details in person. So, for example, if you've ever tried to text a girl and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, so when are you free? And then she answers you 4 hours later and she's like, oh, I'm not sure, I was free today, but I don't know when I'm going to be free next, or whatever variation that is. If you set it up in person, you already get to know her schedule. Like it's the earliest time you could find out her schedule. Okay, and a big thing is, like, the sooner you set the date, the sooner you have a date set, the sooner you see her, the more and have plans to see her, the more likely it is that you will see her, okay? The reason is pretty simple. She could lose her job and have to find a new one. She could have to find a new apartment. She could have been dating a guy, and then all of a sudden she decides to become serious with him, and it's not like she didn't like you, but maybe she kind of liked him, but she just went for it more, and so he kind of like took the lead, even though maybe she liked you more or whatever. It's kind of, my favorite saying in this situation is by John Lennon, right? The famous singer, celebrity, right, from the Beatles. He says, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. Meaning, there's so many times where we have plans and just like life comes and knocks it off course. And it's not you weren't interested in whatever it is your plan was, but life just came in and changed up the situation. Now it's like, as much as you want to see this girl or do whatever, it's just the situation changed, okay? Maybe you wanted to make an investment, and all of a sudden your money, like, I don't know, you lost your money or whatever. It's not that you didn't trust the investment or think it's a good idea. It's just a different situation now, okay? So let's minimize the amount of interference that could come in by setting a date in person whenever possible. Now, there are 4 components to setting a date. If you do want to set a date, you want to set the day, the time, the location or venue you're going to meet, and the neighborhood you're going to meet, okay? And you want to set all this to be kind of like clear in the girl's mind, all right? So when you set the date, what I typically do and what I recommend you do is I recommend just asking the girl when she's free over the next few days. That's exactly what I do, and I try to say words like the next few days and give a little bit of a time frame rather than just leaving it up in the open, out in the open, where I'm saying like, oh, so when are you free? Or it'd be cool to see you again. And it's not that I don't ever do those things, and it works fine, but I then try to narrow it down, like, okay, so when are you free over the next few days? So just try to get the next few days idea in her mind. You want that time frame. And then when you have a day in mind, right, maybe she gives you a few options. She says, oh, well, what's today? Monday? I'm free Tuesday, and I'm free Thursday, and I'm free Friday night if that works for you. Grab Tuesday, okay? If it works for you, grab the earliest day possible, because you're going to minimize the interference, okay? Which, again, is what you want to do if you want to see this girl again. Now, sometimes she won't actually know her schedule. You'll find this a lot with girls who are in the restaurant industry, right? If she's a bartender, let's say, or she's a host or a waitress, a lot of those girls tend to be very, very pretty, and if you meet one of them, chances are she doesn't know her schedule, okay? She doesn't know, like, it changes week to week, so you'll want to try to get an idea of when she is free and set something tentative. So you'll say, okay, no problem, well, why don't we do this? We could set something tentative and just confirm it over text and set it that way. Now, sometimes she'll be like, okay, well, you know what, why don't we go for Tuesday? Okay, and other times she's like, I really don't know my schedule. You could push a little bit more in that situation and say something like, well, okay, there's probably a day that you're more likely to free than others. Like, I have a lot of friends in the same industry, and they always have a day that they're like most likely to be free. Do you have a day like that we could pick? And if she says yeah, and she gives you a day, pick that, okay? But realize it's not set. You still need to confirm it, okay? You still need to find out, like, which day is she finds out her schedule. So you'll say, okay, when will you know, right? And you'll want to find out. You'll want to follow up with her. So you'll say, well, okay, so what day do you get your schedule? And she could say, well, I find out my schedule every day, every week on Friday or Sunday. That would make sense. Sunday. And you're like, okay, Sunday, yeah, okay, so why don't we do this? I'll text you on Sunday if I don't hear back from you, and we'll just confirm Tuesday. In worst case scenario, we have to change it, okay? We'll figure it out, okay? Make it clear, like, you're pushing for it, but you are understanding that she's got a very particular situation. And if that's the case, I would say just make sure to set a calendar notification if you think you'll forget. Sometimes you even think you won't forget, and you end up doing it. So calendar notifications can be very helpful in that case, okay? And to give you an example, I've gotten so many phone numbers at times, or even if I didn't, like maybe it was one number, but there's just so much going on in life that sometimes you forget, okay? And again, it's no one's fault, except in this case it'll be your fault because you could have set up a reminder and you didn't. So set a reminder if you think there's a really good chance you might forget, or at least even a decent chance, all right? It's not worth it. Now look, in this situation, when I talk about these things, guys think, a common concern I get is guys think they're being too pushy, that I'm teaching them to be like, they ask questions like, isn't that needy? Or aren't I being too pushy? And then she'll get annoyed. And in the beginning, it's probably going to come off a little bit too pushy. Maybe she will get a little bit annoyed. That's just the nature of learning something for the first time. But as you get better at it, you're going to get smoother at it, and it's going to just land way better. You're just going to fit it into, like, you're just going to find a way how to make it work better. So don't worry about screwing it up in the beginning. You can't worry about, like, being new when you're new, okay? It's just a part of the learning curve. But also, you got to realize that one of the big things about when you get better at this is you care less about getting no's and the girl telling you you're pushy, because you realize it's way more frustrating to think that you have a yes, that the girl's on board, and find out after you put even more work in that she actually wasn't on board, and now you wasted all that time. Okay, at some point you get better at this and you don't care about getting a no, you just want a damn answer. Okay, and this is what we call playing to win, not to not lose. Don't be afraid to push it too far. Rather, be more upset if you didn't push it far enough, right? And we're not talking about an escalation, like touching her point of view. You want to be very careful with that. We're talking about just setting plans. Like, any girl that's interested should not have a problem giving you a day that she's free if she knows her schedule, all right? Don't be afraid of that. Next, you want to set a time. This is pretty self-explanatory. If, let's say she says she's free Monday. She gave you that as an option. Just say, yeah, Monday works for me. You want to do around 5 p.m. and just whatever time works for you, right? If it's 7 that works for you, pick that, all right? Now, alternatively, let's say you have a flexible schedule. Just say, okay, Monday is actually a pretty good day for me. I could do Monday. What time works for you? I think I'm pretty flexible that day, right? And don't copy me word for word. It just be real. Like, if you're flexible, just say, yeah, I'm pretty flexible. What time do you want to do? Okay? And again, don't be afraid to push for something concrete. All right? Women oftentimes will reward you and be more attracted to you because they see, like, this guy's not messing around. This guy's the real deal. He doesn't care if I tell him no. Like, he's actually pushing for a real answer. Okay? And that's when you're going to start getting a lot of respect from women. Now, the next thing is you want to select an activity. All right, and realize you don't have to do these 4 in any particular order. You could have picked the activity before. It doesn't really matter. Just these 4 need to be established. The activity could be something that you talked about in the interaction. It could be something that you generally like have as a go-to date. It doesn't really matter. Just pick something you think would be enjoyable to both of you. All right, so if you guys talked about wine, or maybe you like wine, just be like, hey, so do you like wine, And if she says no, find something else. Be like, okay, how about ice cream, right? It doesn't matter. Like, just pick something that you want to do, and if she doesn't want to do it, pick something else. When you find something, just say, Awesome. Yeah. So I know a great place we could get some wine. Well, yeah, we'll meet up Monday, 5 p.m. Do you know, right? And we're going to lead into the next part, which I'll talk about, like setting the neighborhood. Do you know where like Chelsea is or something? You want to make it clear on the neighborhood, but just focusing on the activity for a second, I want you to realize what kind of date you're trying to set, what kind of venue you're trying to invite her to. Cocktails are great. Coffee shops are great. Walks in the park are great. If you take her to a bakery, that's good. Smoothies, those are all great. Okay, I've done a lot of smoothie dates, cocktail dates, coffee dates even, or like there was a place near my home where we could get for like $7 a coffee and a big piece of like homemade cake. And that was awesome to share. Like the fact that we were sharing something made it even more romantic and oh, we're already together. She's already my girlfriend kind of feel. Okay. Again, I usually do cocktails or wine. I happen to like both a lot unless I'm on a cleanse or something. But it also allows the mood to kind of settle in nicely. So if she had a stressful day or I had a stressful day, it really takes the edge off in a lot of cases. But it'll also, it's not an expensive date. You could finish them pretty quickly if you want, which is very, very important. It's just overall, like it even sets it a little bit more romantic. That's why I like it. Don't worry about spending a lot of money. Okay, a lot of guys try to impress girls with the money that they have. And a lot of people just like have a weird, I don't know where they're getting their like ideas from, but I saw surveys where they were asking men and women, how much do you think a man should spend on a date? And the men said something like $30 to $50. The women said $30 to $50. The men said $50 to $100 on a first date. Like, bad move. Don't do that. Don't try to impress her with your money. Don't try to set an elaborate date. Okay, and you want something simple. You also want to expect that you're paying. So don't think you're going to take her on a $30 date and then, or a $100 date and she's going to split it with you. Okay. First of all, a lot of women, it would be too much for them. Also, two, it's going to offend most women if you don't at least offer to pay, okay? Some women will not have a problem paying for themselves, but you want to at least offer. If you don't do that, by societal norm, unless you're dating a very particular kind of girl, a lot of girls will think you just don't care. They're going to think, well, this guy doesn't actually like me, or they'll think you like them, but you're cheap, right? And it's just a slap in the face to a lot of girls. The same way if you took a client out for a business meeting, and you made him pay, it just kind of says like, it sets a bad expectation and it makes you feel like, like there's more where that came from. And you don't want there's more where that came from feel on bad things, okay? It's not about like a negative, it's not about like setting a principle, like, oh, I'm a guy and she's, she should pay for herself. You're going to lose her, okay? If you like her, you're going to lose her, and you shouldn't do that. So just bring her somewhere simple. Coffee is awesome. Cocktails is awesome. Get a round of drinks awesome. Okay, so don't bring her anywhere that you wouldn't feel comfortable covering the expense. And realize also, like, if she's a bad date, I mean, it's a different story. This girl, if she sucked, she's a snob, she expected you to pay for the whole thing in a rude, demanding, entitled way, then tell her, look, I'm just going to pay for myself, and you are not somebody I want to date. Like, I pay for girls who are a pleasure, okay? If you're rude, like, no thank you, I'm gonna leave, right? And you could take that approach, but realize girls who are a pleasure, I mean, dude, you make money, right? So the mindset is I want to make money to spend it on things I like. And if the girl is a pleasure, don't be cheap, all right? Like, be willing to spend $10, $15, $20, maybe even $30 on her, all right? Also, I want you to realize dates need to be simple and they need to be practical, all right? I don't want you setting anything long. I don't want you setting anything elaborate. No 2-hour cooking classes, no long rock climbing trips. I remember, I went out with a girl one time, or like she was a girl I was seeing, and I asked her about what kind of dates she's been on, and she said one guy, she lived in she lived in Rhode Island. I don't know where you're from, but Rhode Island is a state in the United States, and he took her like an hour-long drive to go see one of the college campuses, Brown University. It's a great school with a pretty campus, and he took her all the way there. Bad move if you're trying to hook up with this girl, because you're bringing her to the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour-long drive. By the time she gets back, she might have to go home. She might be tired. You might be tired. Okay, like, don't do that. Okay, you need to be able to basically leave in a moment's notice is the goal I'm going for. So, like, how long does it take to order coffee? You know what I mean? Get coffee, you could order it, you could leave any moment. Also, you don't know her that well, so if she's like a really bad date, you don't want to commit to anything like that. But, you know, you just have to realize, like, it's going to make it harder to bring her home when you're ready if you get into these long ordeal of a date. All right? Things like restaurants, be careful. Some restaurants move very, very slowly, right? We've all been there where like the food just took forever to come. The waiter just disappeared. He was like talking to the other hot waitress and just not paying attention. All right. Also, sometimes actually a lot of times girls will feel very uncomfortable taking their clothes off if they had a big meal. Okay, they're going to think they look fat. They're going to be insecure about their bodies, and that alone could make it a little bit harder, okay? And then defeats the purpose of even bringing her home, all right, and setting like up the date near your home and all that stuff, okay? So look, again, should be easy to meet or leave in a few minutes. It should be simple. Don't do anything like, you know, walks in the freezing weather, okay? Like it should be something practical. Ideally something quiet and intimate, okay? So like, you know, festivals like street fairs could be pretty cool, even though they're not quiet and intimate, but ideally try to get something quiet and intimate, no loud crowded places, okay? None of that stuff. Next thing is you want to set the neighborhood up, right? So I was kind of bringing this up before. You want to like pick the activity, pick the day, pick the time, and then say something like, oh, do you know where Chelsea is, right? If you live in Chelsea, which is, for example, where I lived in Manhattan, that's what you want to say is like, okay, so awesome. Like, I have a really cool place we could go to. Do you know where Chelsea is? And she'll say, like, yeah or no, okay? And you just want to be able to meet her in your neighborhood because it'll make it easier to bring her home afterward, okay? You know, and that's if you don't bring her, meet her at your home altogether, which we'll talk about in one of the next videos, okay? It's also going to help with the confirmation process. If she's a bad date, you could leave at any point. Okay, it's way easier to leave a bad date when you're a 15-second walk away from your home rather than when you're a 30-minute drive or something like that. Okay, it's also, you know, if you're meeting her in your neighborhood to begin with, it's going to be easier to say something like, you know, okay, cool. Well, so Monday at 5, you want to meet back here? We'll walk over together, right? It's like if she already met you in that neighborhood, it's easier a lot of times to get her to come back to that neighborhood. Chances are she frequents that neighborhood or something like that, okay? So it's not impossible for her to get there, okay? And she's already familiar with the look of it and so on, all right? Now, when you say something like, this is just a side point, if you say something like, yeah, so I'll see you Monday at 5, I like to finish off the sentence with something like sounds good or cool or does that work for you? And get that little bit of a confirmation of, you know, to end off your sentence to make sure she understands the details, you're on the same page, okay? So like a lot of times guys will set plans and like, all right, we'll meet Sunday at 5, and it's like they didn't actually confirm it with the girl that works for her, and then maybe the conversation topic changes and like nothing was agreed upon. So make sure it was agreed upon. Okay, and this is also why, another reason why living in a really good area is going to be so helpful to you, okay? Because if you live, you know, in a weird area, you don't live in a good area, it's going to be much harder for her to want to meet you there, and then therefore even meeting her in the middle is going to make more sense, which is not something you want to do, okay? You want to live where all the action is happening, all right? So it'll sound something like, yeah, awesome. I'm really excited to see you. Do you, yeah, ice cream sounds really good. Do you know where meatpacking is, right? Or meatpacking is in Chelsea. Do you know where Chelsea is? Awesome. Okay, let's meet there. Sounds perfect. I'm super excited. Okay, and then you're going to finalize the details with the little like sound goods and cool, does that, you know, things like that, just to make sure that you guys are on the same page. All right, and I really want you to be careful. Do not make the rookie mistake of meeting her in the middle or some random place. Like a lot of times guys will know of a cool spot, but it's like it's nowhere near anyone's home. It's like the middle of nowhere, but they want to have a good date. And so they meet her just like in a random spot. Like, don't make it about meeting her at a great location when you're compromising. Like, don't make it about meeting her in a great venue when you're compromising meeting her in a good location relative to where you want to bring her afterward to hook up if everything goes well. Okay? It's simple math. If you meet her farther, you have to travel farther to get back. And that's going to require more convincing, and maybe, you know, more like assuming you guys even have the time to get over there and back and so on, right? Like if she has an hour and, you know, you say, okay, let's go to my place, and she, or whatever, like, I don't know. Point is, if you guys are on time constraints or whatever, it's just going to screw you over, all right? So make sure to meet her as close to your neighborhood as possible. Sometimes all you get is one move, and so you want to make every move count, okay? And the only exception to this is like if you try to meet her in your area and then she says, oh, I'm not going there, it's too far, or I don't know, you live in a bad neighborhood and she just doesn't want to go there, then maybe meet her in the middle, knowing that it's going to be pretty hard for you to close her, or at least harder. It's less likely than if you met her in your neighborhood, and just build a good, strengthen the connection, and expect that you'll probably meet her on a second date, and you could in your neighborhood, and then you could say something like, yeah, okay, you know what, I'll meet you, yeah, okay, so you know what, we'll meet in the middle next time, but I'm telling you, that ice cream shop is awesome. So if nothing else, you know, when you feel more comfortable, maybe I'll show you for our second date. Sounds good, right? And notice it sounds good. Now, if you don't have your own place, one thing I really recommend is, for one, get your own damn place. Like, really, I can't tell you how many times I advise people to do it. They finally do it, and their world changes, okay? For dates, for bringing girls home in general, it's awesome. But what you could do is you could either rent a hotel, you could rent an Airbnb. If you want to save money, you could get a private room in the Airbnb, and make sure to just screen out the Airbnb host and say, hey, I'm looking for a place to stay on this day. Do you have any issue if I bring a friend back at some point? I'm just going to be meeting up with somebody. I just want to know it's okay and that there won't be any problems. And only go if they don't have any problems, all right? Really, do not count on her having her own place. I keep saying this. Don't do it, okay? Don't count on it. If you count on her having her own place, it reduces the chance that sex is going to happen. You don't know her living situation. You don't know if she lives with her parents. You don't know if she shares a room with somebody. You don't know if her apartment's such a big mess that she won't even let you come in. You know, you really don't know. Maybe her roommates are just like man haters. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, you just don't know. Look how many unknown variables there are. And if you are going to do that, realize there's going to be a lot of screening that you're going to have to do and maybe have to walk away from. If you know, for instance, like if you say, okay, yeah, you know what, I don't have a problem. I can meet you in your neighborhood. Where do you live? And she's like, yeah, I live in Chelsea. You know, like, all right, that's not bad. That's 20 minutes from me. I'll meet you there. Sounds good. And she's like, yeah, cool. And you're like, so by the way, who do you live with? Like, you live with roommates or something? You know, and she's like, yeah, I live with my roommate. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Is she cool? Awesome. How do you know her? Right? And start like figuring out, is this girl going to be a problem or not? All right. So I want to give you kind of like an idea of how this conversation might sound. So you'll say something like, oh, damn. Yeah, it's too bad I can't see you tonight. Like, I guess you got to go. But I'll tell you, I definitely did love meeting you. And I do want to see you again. You know, when are you free over the next few days? And she's like, yeah, it was really awesome meeting you too. I'm free. Let me think. I'm usually free Monday. I'm free Wednesdays. Friday might work too. Do you want to do Friday? And again, what are you going to do? You're going to grab the earliest day available, right? So you'll say, yeah, Monday works for me. Assuming it's like Sunday, right? Monday works for me. Let's do that. Do you like wine? Right? And then she'll probably say something when you say suggest wine. She'll almost be like, who doesn't? Right? Yeah, who doesn't? Haha. Something like that. All right, and then you're going to say, all right, great. There's actually a pretty cool place I'd like to take you to. They have awesome wine, so we could go get a nice couple glasses or a bottle or something. Yeah, do you know where Chelsea is? Awesome. Okay, so I'll meet you in Chelsea. It'll be super cool. And then she's going to be like, okay, cool, yeah. And you'll just say, oh, awesome. I'll text you the address. I'm super excited. So Monday at 5, all right? Make sure not to be late, okay? And then if you haven't exchanged numbers, you'll exchange numbers, and so on. And if she doesn't comply to meet you in your neighborhood, you could say, for instance, like, again, coming back, yeah, there's an amazing place near my home that'd be cool to take you to. Do you know where Chelsea is? Right? And she'll say, yeah, isn't that this place, you know, near here? And you're going to say, yeah, it is, right? And she's going to say, oh, that's too far for me. Let's just say she says it's too far. It's usually like a distance issue. And you're going to say, don't worry, it'll be so worth it, okay? I promise I'll make sure you get back okay and everything, all right? Deal? and she'll say, all right. And if she says, no, I have still no, I'm not going to do it or something, let's meet in the middle, then it's going to be up to you to decide, do you actually want to meet this girl in the middle? Is she, actually your type of girl that you'd be willing to put in that extra effort for, run a whole date, spend that money, and realize there's actually not, there's less likely of a chance that you're going to hook up with her? Right? Because even if you get a first date, it's not always a guarantee that you have a second date. You kind of need to fit her into your rotation, right? Again, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans, all right? So just keep that in mind. But I also don't want you to be the guy who's like, I've definitely worked with guys who were super dismissive on this topic, and they would be like, oh, well, yeah, it's less likely I'm going to close her, and if she's not going to do that, I'm not going to go. And it's like, but dude, is she your type or not? And I really kind of have to ask them and dig it out of them. When they say, yeah, I'm like, then just go for it. Like, is she your type where you're willing to put in a little bit extra work? And if the answer is no, then no. If the answer is yes, then go for it. All right. And then, just be like, all right, no worries. We'll meet in the middle. And then, if you feel more comfortable for our second date, we'll meet back by me. Okay. Still, it would be nice to show it to you. All right. Well, awesome. It was really nice meeting you, and so on. The last option is, again, you can meet her in her neighborhood if you screen for her, making sure that, I don't know, she doesn't have any roommates or something like that. And what you could also do, I've never done this, but it definitely would work. I've tested enough to know it will work, is if you, let's say, get a hotel or a car, you park your car or something in her neighborhood, or, you offer to drive her back, who knows. You get an Airbnb in her neighborhood and just be like, yeah, no worries, I'll just meet you there. And then just bring her back, okay? And it's not going to be a big deal at all, okay? So just know that you have all these as your options. Make sure to set the date from start to finish in person, and really, it should take you no more than a few verbal exchanges to do this. Well, if you notice, a lot of this video was just kind of walking you through the mindset, the mentality, why we're doing what we're doing, and so on, all right? So I hope this makes sense. I'll see you in the next video.